Hello, lovely light workers. Back again so soon. I felt I had to make hopefully a brief video that talks about the shifts in energy that we're going through, and this is off the back of me feeling an uptick in the collective anxiety today in response to changes that are occurring in the United States. So most of this is going to be hopefully aimed at encouraging you as a sovereign soul to hold the light above all else, but not to deny yourself of any trauma that's stirred up, anything that's triggered within you in this particularly turbulent time, because it's important to not squash down or suppress those negative feelings anymore. And if you find yourself in a state of fear as it stands, this isn't a backslide. This is just an opportunity for you to heal. So take time, be kind to yourself, and watch that monkey chatter in your head. Don't let that run wild, because all truly is well. What's happened recently, and what happened yesterday, was the 1212 portal opened. So this is an energetic gateway that's opened up for us to shift further, and we've been shifting at a rapid pace this entire year, and more recently there's a sense that things are going at warp speed, and the changes are just happening so rapidly that it's really difficult for us to ground and to keep focus on the highest aspects of all of the shambles. So the 1212 portal opening is an opportunity. It's a gateway between here and the 21st, which is a key date for some kind of light event, and we'll talk a bit more about that later. But essentially what we've got between here and the 21st is a void period where we have access to a different level of energy, and this energy is now about making our final decisions, playing our final cards, and deciding our own polarities as sovereign beings. So are we positively polarised service to others, negatively polarised service to self, or neutral, so a blend of both of those parts? It's important to remember there is no right and there is no wrong in that decision-making process, but all now are being pushed to make a final decision about what it is that they want to experience, and they will then go down the appropriate timeline or have the experience that matches that particular vibration. And even if it's the case that somebody chooses a negatively polarized pathway, so if it's somebody that's happy to have the jab and isn't yet awake to the issues with MSN, then they may choose the service to self, which is the fear-based polarity, but it's not like that's the end for them. Their soul is just at a different stage. They have more learning to do, and they will be given the opportunity to do that. So it feels to me like this is kind of like the last squall, this extra dose of chaos that's just forcing everyone into a decision, essentially. And it may mean that some people have to go through a dark night of the soul if they haven't been through that already, and anything that's kind of left, all these little sticky bits that are left within us that need healing, are going to come up to the surface to be healed. I think when thinking about holding on to the light, it's important for us to acknowledge the size of the army, for want of a better word, the size of the force that's fighting for the light. And I know there are people out there who are protesting and they're going to events and there's not many people attending, and that makes people feel like they're alone in this. But that fails to recognise, or it belies that people don't truly understand how many awakened souls there are and at what levels there are that they're all engaging in this particular battle. So there are millions of conscious creators in this world now, millions of them who are awake, who understand the MSN, who understand the lies, who understand that this is a mirror realm and we're living in the upside down. They understand all the negative forces, and they are awake to a point that they are working with the energy to help us to stick to the organic timeline that we're on. And they're doing that by fighting negative entities, by sending out love to the collective, by sending healing where it's needed, by building a new energetic grid, by going to certain sites on the earth and healing the energies that are there, all sorts of things. It all starts with self. All of these people will have had to go through the process of consciously healing themselves first, and then reaching the level where they can then be a support to the collective. So as well as these conscious creators who are very awake and very aware, there's also a whole stream of millions and millions of unconscious creators who are positively polarized and who are in love with humanity and sharing that in whatever way they can. So my point is, there are way more of us in the collective that are actively working together at different levels of the system in order to reach our ultimate goal for freedom, love and unity. They are the unseen and unsung members of our tribe, but they are there, they have our backs, and they are pushing forwards with us as a unified whole. I also wanted to talk a little bit more about energy work and why energy work and magic. All of you wonderful magicians will sooner or later know this, but just to kind of give a bit more understanding of that argument as to why I believe, and many others believe, that energy work is valid and that magic is real. So there's different stages, different levels of awakening, and many of the people I'm coming into contact with now in my 3D life are awakened to the point that they see the manipulation that's occurred. They see the satanic rituals and things that have occurred and the black magic, but they aren't truly understanding that if this darkness occurs, and there must be some proof in the magic if it's used by the higher ups to hold and maintain and gain power. That must give it some validity, that that's something that works. So if that works, then everything in this reality is polarity. There's always an equal and balancing force to that. So if it's true that this dark magic creation works, then shouldn't it equally follow that light magic creation works? And wouldn't it make sense that that understanding and that knowing has been hidden from us and suppressed for millennia? Because if we knew that, well, the 1% would stand no chance, would they? If we all just turned on to those gifts. And it's like Neo in the Matrix. I hate that I have to keep using that reference, but it's so relevant. But it's like he can't manifest the changes that he wants to see, and he can't create the magic that he knows is inside himself until he truly, truly believes that at a soul level. And we've been kidded out of our own magic by... It's not the greatest trick that the devil ever pulled to convince us that he doesn't exist, because we know he exists. We know that's not an actual manifest being, but we know that energy exists. It's that the devil tricked us into believing that God doesn't exist, and God has become a funny joke, and all the slogans about Jesus loves you and the memes that have gone around, that's all part of an agenda to dissuade us and make a mockery of the divine power that is, the divine energy that is God. such to the point that people even struggle to say that word. But it's true. There is a source creator that is part of you, that is part of me, that is part of everything. And another great trick that they pulled on us was making us believe, or making those of us that did believe that there is a God, that God is outside of you. And I think when you really go in and try to unpick the lessons of Jesus Christ or Buddha or any of the ascended masters, their message was always the same, and that is that you don't need to seek outside of the self. God is within. We are the creators. We are the ones who decide here in this reality. So I suppose I'm just suggesting to you that if you believe, if you're at a stage in your awakening where you believe that dark magic has some sway or has had some sway in this reality, then by considering that, you also have to consider the opposite, which is that light magic exists, light magic works, and it's time for us to remember that as a collective and start using this energy and start using our own innate magic to correct the balance of the scales that have been so wildly out of balance for so long. We are now, the 21st will be a big level up for all of us as a collective and as individuals. I don't know what that will look like. I've not been shown that as yet. If and when I am shown that, I'll share it with you. But it could be anything. It's described as being a flash of light, a light that awakens humanity. And it's interesting to note, I think I may have said some of this before, but it's interesting to think about the experiments that have been done with embryos and what happens when photonic light is shone through an embryo. And what's been proved is that different frequencies of light can change the species of an embryo. So, for example, you could in theory have a shark embryo, and by the frequency of light that's shone onto it, change that into being a baboon embryo, for example. So light affects our DNA. Light changes, light codes our DNA. The light codes that are in our voices do that. We're doing that as a collective, as we're speaking to one another, as we're sharing information. But the sun has a much bigger part in that, and that's why it's so important, why the forces haven't wanted us to go outside and be in the sunshine, why they've wanted us to stay in our little dwellings and be in the dark. And that's because the light frequencies that are coming through now to the planet are so powerful and so transformative. So supposedly we're getting a lot more of that light, or the light is changing in frequency on the 21st. It could be that there is some sort of solar flare that we see. We'll certainly see a big star in the sky. We'll see the Christmas star, which is the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter coming together and the opening of the age of Aquarius. Or it could be that the dark forces decide to piggyback on that, as they have done with so many other things, and try to pull it down the inorganic timeline. So they may be something like they turn out the electricity on that day and they try to throw the world into darkness when there's this equally polarised event occurring of a solar flare. Potentially, something like that. I don't know. Something will happen. As I said, if I get any more information on it, I will share that with you. But I think for now it's best just to be open-minded, open-hearted, and not in a state of resistance. So not to put too much onto this date, not to feel that this is going to be the salvation of mankind, because we're reminded that salvation only comes from within, and it only comes by healing ourselves first as an individual. So whatever happens in the external, just go with it. Just be in a state of receptivity. I think just to go back to holding the light, so more encouragement as I see it. I've not had any other information. I know it looks the opposite, but the elections, the American competition, shall we say, are still a done deal. It's still victory to the light. don't lose faith. Where we are now is in kind of like a mirror realm, and the mirror is cracking. It really is. We're going from being in the upside down for all this time into bringing the world back into being right way up, into harmony and balance. And the poles are shifting in relation to that. You know, all these earth changes are taking place. It's all perfectly timed and perfectly orchestrated at every level. And I would say to all of you, just a few closing bits of advice. Look for the star anywhere. I'm seeing stars everywhere. Funnily enough, I just looked around and the tablecloth in front of me I'd totally forgotten, but it's covered in stars. Just as I said that. So look for the star. The star is a symbol now that you're on the right track. It's literally follow the white rabbit. You'll start to see more synchronicities. You'll start to hear and meet more guides in this reality, and these will be members of your soul family, your soul group that you've incarnated with before, and people that you agreed to come here to be on this particular path, on this particular mission before you even incarnated. And I'm realizing that my soul family is all around me. All of the people that I'm interacting with now on a 3D level are there to be taught by me and to teach me. We are both forming these really wonderful co-creative relationships where we're both teacher and learner at the same time, and it's a gift. It's a wonderful gift. Look for those people. Be open to hearing what people have to say. Everybody is a guide, and we're all, even if people are deeply asleep, they'll still say things on occasion that are profound and that give you a direction. So listen to the world. Watch out also for your gifts coming online. We are getting a huge amount of downloads now and help from off-world. Lots of information coming through. I do find if I sit with paper and pen and just write, all sorts of bits of knowledge come through that I didn't consciously know. So you might want to try something like that, like free association writing. Meditation is also good. Not to quiet the mind, but just to sit in silence and see what you can hear. Listen for ear tones, changes of pitch, sensations in the body as the energy shifts our physical bodies. Our DNA is being recoded from these new light codes. So you may experience feelings of weightlessness, headaches, cramps. If in doubt, go and see your doctor, of course. I'm not a medical professional, but certainly changes in the body is something that I've experienced a lot. You will begin to get gifts coming online as a result of these downloads. So that could be, it will be different for all of us, but we'll all form a wonderful puzzle. So I think that one of the gifts that's coming online for me is being able to speak from higher aspects. I know a close friend of mine is experiencing new healing techniques or re-remembered healing techniques that he can do with his hands. And other people that I know are finding their true voice and standing up and sharing information from their hearts with others. So these things will be different for all of us, but look for them. You're very much being encouraged now to step forward and occupy your divine birthrights. We really are moving into the land of milk and honey. And if ever you feel alone in this, if ever you feel frightened, please know that you aren't. There's millions and millions and millions of us all working for this shared goal together, all working for the betterment of one another and for love, for light, freedom, liberty. So you never stand alone. We're always here. I love you very, very much. So please hold on to the light. I'm here with you.